What's up, guys? We are back with a full slate of MLB action here on Monday, June 17th. We had a pretty decent Sunday out there, guys. We got things off to a positive start there with the Tampa Bay Rays. We got them in there early at plus 140. They came through pretty comfortably. We also saw the Brewers, our biggest bet of the day. That came through. That was a nice win for us, but man, it was a tight one. Definitely take that, though. Put it on the board. The Giants minus 166 was another win. They scored a ton of runs in that game. Great offensive outburst from them there, so that was pretty nice. We did take a flyer there on the Royals plus 210. Obviously, when you take an underdog that big, it's not always going to work out, and this was one of those instances. It was a pretty close game, but the Royals bats just could not get anything done. We next hit the Mariners minus 135. That one will work. Definitely put that on the board. They shut out the Texas Rangers, so a great performance there from the Mariners. Close things out on a sour note, though, guys. The Yankees looked terrible again. Pretty surprising to see them have another just really big struggle of a day there against the Red Sox, but regardless, finish things off 4-2 on the day. Nothing wrong with that. We'll definitely take that every day of the week, and we'll definitely take it on Sundays, which, as you all know, can be a pretty weird day. Let's keep things rolling here, going into a new week with this short Monday slate. First, guys, do me a big favor and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we put in here every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description to go over there and join our free email list, and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today, and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Cincinnati Reds come into this game fresh off of losing the last two games of their series there against the Milwaukee Brewers. They put up a heck of a fight there in game 3, but ended up coming up short. They're 34-37 on the year, handing the ball in this one to Carson Spears. He has yet to figure in a result this season. He's been coming out of the bullpen primarily, but he's been looking pretty good. His last time out, he actually pitched 5 2/3 innings out of the bullpen, so basically a start level amount of innings in that game. He gave up 4 hits and no runs while striking out 7 and walking 1 against the Chicago Cubs. His outing before that, he looked decent, maybe not dominant against the Dodgers, but I mean, it is against the Dodgers, so we'll give him some credit in that one. He's a young guy, you know, not too old, not too experienced. He's a big right-hander, so we'll see what he's got out there on the mound as a starter in this one. I think we can fairly safely expect some pretty positive things from him. He's not exactly going up against the strongest hitting team, so, you know, that's always nice. The Reds' bullpen is a concern, guys. They have not been great, definitely in the bottom third of the major leagues this season, so not a great bullpen for whenever Spears has to come out of there. And, yeah, I mean, obviously him departing from the bullpen doesn't make the bullpen better, so we have our question marks there. This offense also has not been great. Over their last 4 games, they've scored 4, 1, 6, 4, and 3 runs, so not exactly hitting the cover off the ball. Better than they've been at some points this season. I mean, they are still only 26th in the majors in team batting average, though, so that's not great. Batting .226 as a team, not something to write home about. They're 19th in the majors on base percentage, which isn't amazing. They're not a great slugging percentage team, which is a little bit embarrassing given the fact you get to play half your games in the Great American Ballpark. So, yeah, just not a ton of great things to say about this offense, but it's not looking as bad as it has at some points this season. So they're hoping they can put up some runs here going up against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who just won 2 out of 3 there against the Colorado Rockies. They did lose one of those games 16-4, so I'm sure that stung a little bit, but 34-37 is better than they were at, you know, some other points this year. Things got very dark for the Pirates there for a little bit, so, you know, they'll take it for now. They're currently in second place in the NL Central. They're not having an amazing time, but they're handing the ball in this one to Paul Skeens, who has been just an absolute monster this season. He's 3-0 this year with a 2.43 ERA. He's coming off a very good start there at the St. Louis Cardinals, where we saw the Pirates win 2-1. He went 6 1/3 innings, gave up 5 hits and no runs over his last 5 starts, guys. We've seen the Pirates only lose one of those games, and that was in an outing where Skeens gave up a single run over 6 innings of work. He's looking like an absolute monster out there. No notes for me on Skeens. The dude is just absolutely lights out. The Pirates bullpen, on the other hand, definitely in the bottom of the third of the majors. Also, not a great bullpen, not a squad we're going to be super excited to see Skeens hand the ball off to. I mean, yeah, just not having a great time lately. No way around that. The bats have warmed up a bit. I mean, they scored 8, 4, and 5 runs there in their series against the Rockies, so that's not terrible. In their series against the Cardinals, though, man, the runs were few and far between, so definitely have our question marks about this offense. They're 26th in the majors in slugging percentage, so not a great slugging percentage team, not a great team batting average squad, really. I mean, batting .232 as a team isn't great. They're only getting on base at a .302 clip. Just not an amazing offense, guys. They find a way to manufacture some runs, but when your leading home run guy is Andrew McCutchen, who's like 200 years old, I've got some concerns about your offense. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Reds are at plus 160. We've got the Pirates coming in at around minus 190. So that is a pretty big favorite number there for the Pirates. We've got an over-under in this game of 8. Guys, I'm not going to be backing the Cincinnati Reds in a bullpen game, especially when they're going up against Skeens, who's been an absolute monster. This game is also not at the Great American Ballpark, so we don't have to worry too much about that. I definitely like the Pirates minus 190. That's a pretty steep price if we wanted to look at them against the run line. I mean, if you take a minus 1.5, you can get them at plus 100, which is pretty appealing, although then you're banking on the Pirates putting up quite a few runs, which is not something that always happens, even with Skeens out there on the mound. So we'll just have to see if this ends up in the pinned comment. If you really want to bet this game, guys, Pirates minus 190 seems very reasonable. Also, Pirates minus 1.5. Will it be good enough to end up in the pinned comment? We'll just have to wait and see. Next on the docket, guys, we got the San Diego Padres going on the road to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. The Padres come into this game fresh off of a sweep at the hands of the New York Mets, guys. They lost all 3 games in that series. They lost 2-1, 5-1, and then 11-6. The Padres are down to 37 and 38 on the year. Straight up not having a good time right now, guys. Things are getting a little bit embarrassing for a Padres team that was supposed to be really, really good this season, and they're looking really, really middle of the road. They're handing the ball in this one to Randy Vasquez, who is 1-3 this year with a 4.93 ERA. Coming off of one of his best starts of the season, guys, he went 5 innings, gave up 7 hits, and only a single earned run against the Oakland A's. So yeah, one of the dude's best starts of the season is a lucky start against the A's where he just happened to not give up a ton of runs. I mean, he gave up a home run in that game. Like, just not somebody we're super excited about. He's given up at least 3 earned runs over his 4 starts. Before that, he gave up double-digit hits at the Atlanta Braves. We see that the Padres are only 2-3 over his last 5 starts. And yeah, just not a lot of positive things for me to say about this guy. Not a pitcher that I'm super high on. And the Padres bullpen also not amazing, guys. I mean, maybe not quite as bad as you would think. They're currently sitting with a 3.50 bullpen ERA, which, you know, it would indicate that they're trending in a positive direction right now. But I think that might actually be an incorrect stat since they just got shelled for 11 runs by the Mets. So not a bullpen that I'm really feeling fantastic about. So got some questions about that. Also have some questions about this team offensively. I mean, they scored 6, 1, and 1 runs against the New York Mets. That is not great, guys. I mean, they're 10th in the majors in runs scored, 1st in the majors in batting average, but yeah, they just can't find a way to push runs across the plate. Are they in something of a bounce back spot? Yeah, sure. Do you trust them to bounce back? Do you trust the Padres to put up some runs? I certainly do not. They are not a team that I am very excited about at all this season, and they're going up against a very good team in the Philadelphia Phillies, who are in a bounce back spot after just losing 2 out of 3 to the Baltimore Orioles, and before that they lost 2 out of 3 to the Boston White Sox. So, I mean, the Phillies are still 47 and 24 on the year. Not a disaster by any stretch of the imagination. They're handing the ball in this game to Christopher Sanchez, who's 3-3 this season with a 3.07 ERA. He's come off a kind of questionable start there against the Boston Red Sox. It was at Fenway, so, I mean, you know, take from that what you will. He gave up 4 earned runs on 7 hits over 4 innings. Definitely one of his worst outings over his last 4 starts. I mean, he had a great start there against the Milwaukee Brewers. Very good start at the San Francisco Giants, where he didn't give up a single run. A decent start there at Colorado, so that's impressive to only give up a single run at Coors Field. So, you know, pretty much only positive things for me to say here about Sanchez. He's in a little bit of a bounce back spot, but he's been pretty solid lately. So definitely can look at him as probably the better starter in this game. The Phillies bullpen has been slightly above average this year. Not a ton of notes for them. Haven't been looking great lately, so that's a bit of a concern. And the bats, guys, not something we thought would be a problem for the Phillies. The bats have cooled down. They've scored 3, 2, 5, 3, and 6 runs over their last 5 games. That's not what this offense has been about over the course of this season. I mean, they're 4th in the majors in runs scored, 4th in the majors in on-base percentage. They're sporting a slugging percentage of 408. Like, if you're hitting 252 as a team and you're getting on base at a 327 clip, you expect to be putting up more runs than this team currently is. So I'm not too shocked to see the numbers for this game where they're at, guys. We see the Padres at plus 140, the Phillies at minus 166. We've got an over-under of 9.5 in this game, so the odds makers are definitely expecting some pretty significant runs to be scored. Guys, this is a Phillies team that's coming back home after 2 series on the road. I think we're going to see some positive things out of them. The Phillies minus 166 definitely interests me. While I don't like betting on the Padres, I'm more than happy to bet against them. Go ahead and give me the Phillies minus 166 in this game. I think they're in a very, very good spot to bounce back and get that offense back on track against a pretty mediocre starter and a pretty mediocre bullpen. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the St. Louis Cardinals going on the road to take on the Miami Marlins. The Cardinals come into this game fresh off of a win there against the Cubs. They won 2 out of 3 in that series. They are solidly in second place in the NL Central. They're 35-35 this year, handing the ball to their ace, Sonny Gray, who's 8-4 this year with a 3.01 ERA. He's coming off of a very good start at home against the Pirates, where he went 7 innings, gave up 4 hits, and only a single earned run. His last time on the road wasn't necessarily great, but it was against the Phillies, so we'll definitely cut him some slack in that one. Going up against the freaking Marlins is not the same as going up against the Phillies. So in general, we can definitely expect Sonny Gray to have a pretty positive outing. The Cardinals bullpen has been showing signs of improvement, guys. A 3.90 bullpen ERA, not a disaster. So they'll definitely take that over what they've seen at other points this season from their bullpen. And I'm not going to say the bats are coming alive, guys. I want to, but it's just not true. They've scored 2, 1, and 3 runs. Yeah, that's how many runs they scored over their entire series against the Cubs, a series they did win 2-1. So give them some credit there, but yeah, I just don't have a lot of great things to say about this offense this season. Has not looked great. We do see Contreras is getting ready to begin a rehab start, coming back from that broken forearm, so that'll be good to have him back in action, get another bat there in the lineup, but man, things just have not looked great for this team at the plate. They are 27th in the majors in runs scored, 24th in the majors in on-base percentage. This is a team I want to do well, guys. I was born and raised a Cardinals fan, but not a lot of positive things to say about this offense right now, and they're going up against a Marlins team they should be able to score some runs against, you would think. The Marlins are 23-48 right now coming into this game. They've lost 5 in a row. They're handing the ball in this one to Braxton Garrett, who's 2-2 this season with a 6.10 ERA. He got absolutely shelled at the New York Mets his last time out. He gave up 7 hits, 6 runs, 4 of them were earned. He gave up 2 home runs in that outing. Just a terrible, terrible start. His last time at home was back on the 5th against the Tampa Bay Rays, and he only lasted 2 2/3 innings, gave up 6 hits and 5 earned runs. This definitely seems like a spot you could expect the Cardinals to put up some runs because, man, Braxton Garrett straight up not having a good time right now. The Marlins bullpen in general, guys, not as bad as you would expect. They're right hovering around there, like somewhere near league average, so they'll definitely take that. I mean, this team will pretty much take what they can get at this point. They are just muddling their way through a pretty wasted season. So not too surprised to see, things not headed in a good direction for them. Things are also not headed in a good direction for this offense that scored 1, 0, and 1 run respectively in their series against the Washington Nationals. Yeah, guys, that is a grand total of 2 runs over 3 games. Not looking too good. 29th in the majors in runs scored, 29th in the majors in on-base percentage. They've actually slipped below the Chicago White Sox in terms of slugging percentage, guys. A slugging percentage of .347, dead last in the major leagues. No positive things to say about this offense. They are absolutely terrible. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, I'm a little bit surprised. We see the Cardinals are only -156. The Marlins are +132. We've got an over-under of 7.5 in this game. The Cardinals, not an amazing road team. I mean, they're 18-20 on the road. The Marlins are terrible at home, though. They're 12-25 at home, which I guess isn't shocking given their record. We see mixed trends towards the over-under, so we're not too interested in that over-under of 7.5, but we are interested in the Cardinals -156 on the road in this game. You could also definitely talk me into taking the Cardinals -1.5 in this spot. If you take them -1.5, you can get them at +110. +110 with Sonny Gray out there on the mound and a terrible starter against you seems like a pretty reasonable spot to me, guys. Give me the Cardinals -1.5 on the road in this game. I think we see them put up just enough offense to get the job done to win by at least 2, and I don't think we're going to see a lot of good things coming out of the Marlins in this game, this series, or this season. Moving right along, guys, we're looking at the Boston Red Sox going up against the Toronto Blue Jays. The Red Sox come into this game fresh off of winning 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. They also won 2 out of 3 against the Phillies before that, so a pretty wild stretch of games here for the Boston Red Sox. I've heard a lot of negative things about this team down in the comments from apparently Red Sox fans, but man, they are looking pretty good right now. 37-35 on the year, though, so not great there. Handing the ball in this game to Nick Pivetta, who's 3-4 this season with a 3.88 ERA. He's coming off a pretty rocky start there against the Phillies. He only lasted 4 innings, gave up 4 earned runs on 6 hits, so not great there. He walked 4 and struck out 4. His start before that against the Atlanta Braves was a diamond, though, so he looked fantastic in that one. He's had his ups and downs over his last 5, but mostly ups. I mean, a bad start against the Brewers and a bad start against the Phillies. How will he fare here against the Toronto Blue Jays? We'll kind of have to wait and see, but I'm expecting decent things from him in general. The Red Sox bullpen obviously has had a pretty good time lately. Not a lot of complaints from me about them. Over the course of the season, have they been amazing? I would say no, but recently, they looked pretty good against some pretty decent teams. So I'll give them some credit where credit is due. Their bats have also come alive, guys. They scored 9, 8, and 1 runs in their series against the Yankees, so very positive stuff there. In their series against the Phillies, they scored 9, 8, and 1 run in that series also, so nothing wrong with that. Putting up some big crooked numbers. They're 11th in the majors in runs scored, 7th in the majors in team batting average. They're 6th in the majors in on-base percentage. They're a very good slugging percentage team as well, so yeah, just overall, this team looks pretty good. They're not afraid to steal some bases too, guys. They stole 9 bases in that game against the last game against the Yankees. So pretty impressive stuff from them there out on the base paths. They're probably going to try and keep that up here going against the Toronto Blue Jays, who just won 2 out of 3 against the Guardians. They're now 35 and 36 on the season. Handing the ball in this one to Yusei Kikuchi, who is 4 and 5 with a 3.26 ERA on the year. He's coming off of a shutout against the Milwaukee Brewers, guys. That was in Milwaukee. He went 5 innings, gave up 3 hits, and no runs. He did walk 4 in that game, so that's not great, but he struck out 5, and it was a game that we saw the Blue Jays win 3-0, so he has to feel good about that. Back-to-back starts against elite offensive teams, guys, because the start before that, back on the 6th, he dominated the Baltimore Orioles, giving up only a single run on 4 hits over 6 innings. He struck out 6 and only walked 1 in that game. He's been looking very, very sharp lately, and the Toronto bullpen, maybe not the best one, but also I'm not going to say the worst, guys. They've worked their way up into the top 10. A 3.60 bullpen ERA is definitely something to be proud of right now for a team that's struggled at different times this year coming out of the pen, so give them credit there. The biggest problem for this team has been their offense, but it's come alive lately, guys. They've scored 7, 5, and 1 run over their last 3. 13 runs in a 3-game series for this Toronto Blue Jays team is nothing awful. I mean, they are 26th in the majors in runs scored and 24th in the majors in slugging percentage, but their on-base percentage is pretty solid. Their team batting average is on the rise, and they're swinging some relatively hot bats lately, so definitely a team that we're looking to give some credit to. And looking for the numbers in this game, guys, we see the Red Sox are plus 110. The Blue Jays are minus 130. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. Boston is 19 and 15 on the road, which, you know, not terrible. Toronto is 18 and 16 at home, which isn't amazing. We see both teams showing, some trends towards the under. Is it enough to make me interested in under 8 in this game? Maybe just a little bit, but not enough to put this anywhere near the pinned comment. In general, guys, I'm leaning towards the Toronto Blue Jays minus 130 at home in this one. Kikuchi is an absolute monster. The Toronto bullpen's looking much better lately, and while the Red Sox are red hot coming into this game, I think this is going to be something of a letdown after series against the Yankees and the Phillies. Now they have to face the Toronto Blue Jays. Seems like a spot I could expect Boston to drop a game here, so give me the Blue Jays minus 130 as a small lean. Next on the docket, guys, we have the Detroit Tigers going on the road to take on the Atlanta Braves. The Tigers come into this game fresh off of losing their last game there against the Houston Astros 4-1. They lost 2 out of 3 in that series. They're 34 and 37 on the year, handing the ball to Reese Olson, who's 1 and 8 this season, but with a 3.68 ERA. He is coming off of his third pretty rocky start, guys. He got off to a very, very hot start, wasn't getting any run support, so he didn't rack up a bunch of wins, but he was definitely looking very, very good out there. That has not been the case recently, though. He's given up 5, 8, and 4 earned runs, respectively, over his last 3 starts. Those are starts at Boston, at home against the Brewers, and then at home against the Washington Nationals. So definitely some big question marks for me about Reese Olson in this game. He's a young guy. You're going to expect him to have some growing pains. A trend like this starts to make me worry about how his arm is feeling in general, so big question marks there. The Tigers bullpen comes into this game not looking amazing. A 4.30 bullpen ERA is not great, so definitely some question marks for when Reese Olson comes out of this game. And the Tigers bats, well, they did have a 13-run outburst there against Houston, and the other 2 games of this series combined, they scored a grand total of 1 run. So yeah, not the hottest hitting team right now, despite that big crooked number they put up, or that big double-digit number they put up. Not a ton of positive things. I mean, there's not a lot of guys on this roster that are super scary. They're sitting at 18th in the majors in slugging percentage, 27th in the majors in on-base percentage. Getting on base under a 300 clip, that is some really dark stuff. So not a lot of great things to say here about the Tigers offense. They're going up against the Atlanta Braves, who come into this game fresh off of a loss there to the Tampa Bay Rays. They could not complete the sweep there, which, I mean, not too shocking. The Rays are 38 and 31 this year, handing the ball to Max Fried, who's 6 and 3 with a 3.20 ERA. He's coming off of a kind of mediocre start there against the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, it was the Baltimore Orioles, guys. They're a very good team. He got 4 earned runs on 6 hits over 5 innings. So, not a disaster. Definitely a letdown after striking out 13 against the Boston Red Sox. We do see that the Braves are 3 and 2 over his last 5 starts, so that's something positive, and he really hasn't been getting destroyed. I mean, that 4 earned run game that he had there against the Orioles is by far his worst over his last 5. So definitely seen pretty reasonable things out of Max Fried this season. The Braves bullpen overall has been above average, maybe not elite. So, not too disappointed, not too distraught to see the ball handed to the bullpen. I mean, they can generally speaking get the job done, but maybe not a bullpen unit that we're in love with necessarily. The Braves bats have come alive lately, guys. They've scored 6, 9, 7, and 6 runs respectively over their last 4 games. So they come into this one swinging some pretty hot bats, obviously led by Marcell Ozuna. He's been an absolute just a monster at the plate this year. This team's 15th in the majors in runs scored, 8th in the majors in slugging percentage, which is pretty nice, slightly above average in on base and batting average. So, in general, we're looking more at the fact that they're just a hot hitting team right now. Will they be able to continue that hot hitting here against a floundering Reese Olson? Seems possible to me, and the odds makers definitely think so, guys. We got the Tigers at plus 168 for this game, the Braves at minus 200. That's pretty crazy stuff. We got an over-under of 8 in this game. We see Detroit is an MLB best to the over. They're 40, 28, and 3 to the over. We see Atlanta's a pretty significant under team, though, so we're not super interested in the over-under in this game necessarily. I'm leaning kind of towards the Braves minus 200, but, I mean, obviously that's way too expensive of a price, so if you're really serious about betting this game, you're going to want to look at the run line, and if you take the minus 1.5, you can get them at plus 100. That doesn't seem terrible to me either, if I'm being honest. I mean, Reese Olson has really been struggling right now. The Tigers in general, not having a great time. So give me the Atlanta Braves minus 1.5 at plus 100 with Max Fried on the mound. It seems like a pretty reasonable spot to me. Next on the docket, guys, we get the New York Mets going on the road to take on the Texas Rangers. The Mets kept right on rolling there in Game 3 of their series against the Padres, winning it 11-6. They're up to 33-37 on the year, riding a 5-game winning streak. They're handing the ball to David Peterson, who's 2-0 this year with a 4.32 ERA, coming off a kind of mediocre start there against the Miami Marlins of all teams, so that leaves a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. He's looked, I guess we'll give him a serviceable label. I mean, he had a good start there against the Nationals where he gave up 2 earned runs. He only gave up 2 earned runs in his season debut against the Dodgers, but then to get touched up for 8 hits and 4 earned runs against the Marlins, it was a game we saw the Mets win 10-4, and they are 2-1 over his 3 starts this season. So, give that the credit that it deserves, I suppose. He's a huge left-hander. He's an imposing figure out there on the mound for sure. So, not expecting terrible things from him necessarily, but his consistency is a bit of a concern. Also, a significant concern is the Mets bullpen. They have not been great. Obviously, they've been a little bit better recently, but, not one of the better bullpens in the major leagues, if you ask me. Definitely some question marks there. And the bats have really come alive, but how much can we trust this, guys? I mean, we did see Pete Alonso hit a 3-run home run, so that was nice. I mean, the Padres gave about 11 runs in that game. The Mets have scored 11, 5, 2, 3, and 10 runs respectively over their last 5. So that's all very solid stuff. We see Starling Marte hitting the ball well. We just saw that Pete Alonso home run that we were talking about. They're 14th in the majors in runs scored and 14th in the majors in slugging percentage. They're a fairly league average offense, and if the bullpen could pick things up a little bit, this team probably has the stuff to be decent, but I don't think that they necessarily have the stuff to climb out of a 13.5 game hole there in the NL East. So definitely some question marks about the New York Mets. They're taking on the Texas Rangers, who just got swept by the Seattle Mariners. They got shut out 5-0 in the last game of that series, so that can't feel great. They're 33-38 on the year. They're in second place in the AL West, 8.5 games behind the Seattle Mariners. They're handing the ball in this game to John Gray, who's 2-2 this season with a 2.17 ERA, coming off of a very odd, only 3-inning start there against the Dodgers. I mean, he's been a bullpen guy at different points this season, but he's been primarily starting lately, so only going 3 innings in that one, not amazing. I can't remember. I'm not sure why he would have come out of that game so early, if he got in trouble or what exactly happened in that one. I'm not sure, but in general, over his last 5 appearances, he has not given up more than 2 earned runs. He's had 2 outings where he gave up no runs, so that's pretty positive stuff. And in general, this season, he's looked pretty good. The Rangers bullpen overall has trended in a positive direction slightly as of late. I mean, they're close to MLB average, so that's, that's decent. That's decent. Maybe not amazing, but we'll give it decent. And the Rangers bats have been a problem lately, guys. They've scored 0, 5, and 2 runs over their series against Seattle Mariners. I mean, lots of teams have gotten shut down by the Seattle Mariners pitching staff, so, not too much shame in that one, but this is supposed to be a better team, guys. They are 18th in the majors in runs scored, supposed to be a much better hitting team, and they just don't seem to be. I mean, 18th in the majors in batting average, batting .238 as a team, that's not great. A .306 on base percentage, also not really amazing. This 3-game skid is going to have to end at some point, but will it end in this one? I think there's a relatively decent chance, and the odds makers think so too, guys. We see the Mets at plus 104. We see the Rangers at minus 122. Do I have faith here in David Peterson? I have a little bit of faith, don't get me wrong. We also, interestingly enough, guys, see an over-under of 8.5 in this game. We see the Mets are basically a 50-50 over-under team, but we see the Texas Rangers are an MLB best 43, 26, and 2 to the under. Guys, give me the under 8.5 in this game. I think we see offense at a premium. I don't think we're going to see a huge outburst from either team right now. I don't think we're going to see the Mets hammer somebody who's throwing the ball as well as John Gray. I don't really see David Peterson giving up a ton of runs to a slumping Rangers offense. So under 8.5, definitely my lean in this one. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we've got the San Francisco Giants going on the road to take on the Chicago Cubs. The Giants come into this game fresh off of a 13-6 win there over the Angels, so thank you, Giants, for piling on that one and putting up a big win. They're 35-37 on the year, handing the ball to Jordan Hicks, who's 4-3 this season with a 3.01 ERA. His last time out against the Houston Astros, he went 4 2/3 innings, gave up 3 earned runs on 5 hits. He's just been a guy that can't go deep into games, so you have to really be looking at what to expect here from the Giants bullpen. And over the course of the season, guys, the Giants have not been an amazing bullpen team. I mean, somewhere around 18th in the majors with a bullpen ERA of 4.20, so not exactly killing it. Just not a bullpen I have a ton of faith in, honestly. This offense showed they could put up some runs, but they weren't putting up runs in the games before that. I mean, they scored 13, 3, and 6 runs in their series against the Angels, so, not terrible. They've shown the ability to score in bunches occasionally, but is that something we can count on in this game? I don't know, guys. It seems like kind of a big ask. I mean, they are 13th in the majors in runs scored, 17th in the majors in slugging percentage, though. That's not great. They are a top 10 on base percentage team, so give them some credit there, but not exactly running a ton of sluggers up there. Not a team that I'm especially scared of on offense, but they're taking on a team that I'm not scared of on offense either. The Chicago Cubs, who are 34-38 after losing 2 out of 3 to the Cardinals. They've lost 3 out of the last 4 overall. They're handing the ball in this game to Javier Assad, who's 4-2 this year with a 2.81 ERA. He's coming off of a very good start there against the Tampa Bay Rays. Definitely a bounce back after getting shelled there at Cincinnati, but it's a great American ballpark. We'll cut you just the tiniest amount of slack. The Reds are not the best hitting team, though, so giving up a ton of runs to the Reds, not exactly a great look. We also noticed that the Cubs are only 2-3 over his last 5 starts, so that's also not an amazing look. The Cubs bullpen this year, guys, has been slightly above average. I mean, I guess they're trending in a positive direction right now, so we'll give them a little bit of credit, but they did just have a series against the Cardinals to make those numbers look better. So, not exactly a bullpen that I'm in love with, and I'm definitely not in love with this offense, guys. They scored 1, 5, and 0 runs there against the Cardinals. They're 19th in the majors in runs scored. I can't imagine those being numbers that are trending up. They are 27th in the majors in team batting average, 25th in the majors in slugging percentage. This just is not a team that I'm scared at the plate at all. Not a good offensive team. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Giants at plus 108, the Cubs at minus 126. We got an over-under in this game of 9. We see the Giants are 15-20 on the road. The Cubs are 19-15 at home, so a pretty decent home team. We see that the Giants are a slight over team. The Cubs are a slight under team. Not too interested in that over-under of 9, guys. I'm kind of leaning towards the Giants plus 108. Do we know what we're going to get from Jordan Hicks? No, but do we expect amazing things from the Cubs offense? Absolutely not. Javier Assad did have a bounce back his last time, but we'll just see what he gets out there. This is also a game that I could look at that under 9 maybe a little bit with if we could expect both pitching staffs to have a decent day, but overall not a spot that I have a lot of confidence in. This is mostly a stay away game for me. Next on the docket, we've got the Los Angeles Dodgers going on the road to take on the Colorado Rockies. The Dodgers came away with that 3-0 win there against the Royals. They won 2 out of 3 in that series, so a pretty good showing there. They did lose that one game 7-2, but they had some really bad news. We saw a broken hand by a hit by pitch for Mookie Betts. So for a very top-heavy hitting lineup, that is a big problem. I mean, they've got that good record to fall back on, but they may need it here, guys. They're handing the ball to James Paxton, who's 6-1 this season with a 3.92 ERA. He's coming off a very good start there against the light-hitting Texas Rangers, a bounce back that he very much needed after getting shelled by the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's going to be taking on the Colorado Rockies in this game, a team that he has not yet faced this season, so, not a lot that we can glean from that. But in general, Paxton's been good this year, but he's shown some ability to have some hiccups, guys, especially when pitching on the road, which is what he's doing in this one. So definitely some question marks for me. I mean, his last 3 road outings, I guess he did have a decent but only 3-inning start there, a 3-inning outing against the Mets. But at Cincinnati, he gave up 5 earned runs, and at Pittsburgh, he gave up 7 runs. So some question marks there. The Dodgers bullpen is among the league leaders this season. A 3.20 bullpen ERA is very, very good. They've had some hiccups along the way, like every team would, every bullpen would, but they are looking very good coming into this game for sure. The Dodgers bats, obviously that is a huge blow seeing Mookie Betts go down. That puts even more of the onus to carry this team on to Shohei Ohtani. So we'll see what they actually get here. I mean, a lot of question marks, guys. A lot of question marks about how this offense is going to respond to losing such a key guy. I mean, they're third in the majors in runs scored, second in the majors in slugging percentage, first in the majors in on-base percentage, but those are all numbers I expect to take something of a hit here with one of their best players on the sidelines or on the bench or however you want to put it. Like, bro is out, a broken hand. Apparently he's not going to need surgery, but man, it's going to be a minute before he can grip it and rip it. So a lot of concerns there for me about the Dodgers' entire offense. They're taking on the Colorado Rockies, who come into this game fresh off of an 8-2 loss there to the Pirates. They're 25-46 on the year, so obviously not having a great time. They're handing the ball in this one to Cal Quantrill. He's having a pretty good time this year in general, guys, just all on his own. He's 6-4 with a 3.30 ERA. He's coming off his second straight shutout. He shut out the Minnesota Twins over 6 innings, giving up 3 hits. The start before that, he shut out the Cardinals, giving up only 3 hits over 5 innings. The start for that was at the Dodgers. He had a little bit of a hard time with the Dodgers, guys. He went 4 1/3 innings. He gave up 9 hits and 4 earned runs. So he's getting a chance for some redemption here facing the Dodgers again without Mookie Betts this time. So we'll see what he can do out there. I don't think we feel terrible about his chances here in this particular matchup. In general, though, we are very worried about the Rockies bullpen, guys. It's been one of the worst bullpens in the majors. And when you're having to pitch at Coors Field, I guess you have a built-in excuse. But, man, you got to be a little bit better than that. It's kind of embarrassing at this point. But looking at the Rockies offense, there have been some positives for sure. I mean, they did have a 16-run game there at home against the Pirates, but in the other 2 games of that series, they scored 2 apiece, so that's not great. This is a pretty decent batting average team, but other than that, these numbers start to look not amazing. I mean, 16th in slugging percentage, all right, 17th in the majors getting on base at a 309 clip. That's not amazing. They're 19th in the majors in runs scored, despite getting to play half their games at Coors Field. Definitely brings up some question marks for me. But looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Dodgers at -170, the Rockies at +163. We've got an over-under of 11.5 in this game. Well, right off the bat, guys, that under seems a little bit appealing for the Dodgers not having Mookie Betts out there. But more than that, guys, I'm interested in the Rockies +163. I think we see Cal Quantrill have a better time going up against the Dodgers this time. I'm not super excited about James Paxton pitching on the road. So give me the Rockies +163 as a small lean. I know it's a significant underdog, so approach it with a little bit of caution, but I think this is a reasonable spot for the Rockies to come away with a win. Last but not least, guys, we're looking at the Milwaukee Brewers going on the road to take on the Los Angeles Angels. The Brewers came through for us in a big way there on Sunday, guys, winning 5-4, so we'll definitely take that when they threw out a runner at home to end that game, so absolutely crazy stuff there. They're 42-29 on the season, handing the ball in this game to Carlos Rodriguez. He's 0-1 this year with a 4.91 ERA. His last time out was a start back on the 11th against the Toronto Blue Jays, where he went 3 2/3 innings, gave up 7 hits, only 2 earned runs. So, you know, he didn't give up a home run either in that game. He walked 1 and struck out 4. So he was fighting through some problems for sure. Not a starter that we have a crazy amount of confidence in this game necessarily, but, you know, he showed some grit out there in his first start of the season, so maybe there are better things on the way for him. The Brewers bullpen, if they have to step in and take over for the majority of this game, has been very good, a 3.60 bullpen ERA. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. This is also a very good hitting team over the course of the year, guys. They're 7th in the majors in runs scored and 4th in the majors in batting average. They're actually 3rd in all of Major League Baseball in on-base percentage, getting on base at a 330 clip. They scored 5, 3, 5, and 5 runs over their last 4 games. So, you know, not a lot of bad things to say here about the Milwaukee Brewers. They're in first place in the NL Central, pretty much just cruising along. They won 2 out of 3 against an NL Central opponent in their last series, so things are pretty much looking up. They're taking on the Los Angeles Angels, who are 28-43 on the season, fresh off of getting just obliterated there in the last game of their series against the San Francisco Giants. They are handing the ball in this game to Jose Soriano, who's 4-5 on the season with a 3.48 ERA. He's coming off a pretty solid start there at Arizona. He went 8 innings, gave only 2 earned runs on 5 hits. Yeah, that is the understatement of the year, guys. That is a fantastic start. 8 innings, that's good work. We also see he hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs over his last 2 starts. The 2 starts before that, though, were not great. On the road against Seattle, gave up 4 earned runs on 7 hits. The start before that, at home against Cleveland, gave up 4 earned runs on 4 hits and a home run in that game. So, you know, kind of got to take the good with the bad. It's got to be a little bit of a tough life pitching for the Angels. And yeah, man, when their bullpen comes into the game, it is time to batten down the hatches because their bullpen has been one of the worst in the majors this season. Cannot trust them to hold the fort. So big question marks about this Angels bullpen. And the bats, guys, they can come and go for sure. I mean, they scored 6, 4, and 8 runs respectively at the San Francisco Giants. So that's pretty respectable. But their last game of their series against the Diamondbacks, they only scored 1 run. This is just a weird offense, guys. They're 21st in the majors in runs scored, 15th in the majors in slugging percentage. They're batting .240 as a team. Not a lot of guys they run up there do, inspire a lot of fear in opposing pitchers, I don't think. And yeah, just not the craziest offense. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Brewers at -108. We see the Angels at -105. We got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. Milwaukee's only 20-17 on the road, so not incredible. But we see the Angels are an MLB worst 11-23 at home. Yeah, guys, not too interested in the over-under in this game necessarily, despite both teams showing trends towards the over. I mean, you could take a look at it if you wanted to, but I don't think Soriano's quite bad enough for that. And honestly, I don't even know Carlos Rodriguez is quite bad enough for me to want to go towards the over-under, but I'm leaning slightly towards the Brewers just based on the Angels having so much trouble at home, but this is not a game that I have much of a read on at all. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.